This is the Stay the Course podcast. Don't quit. Never give up. Finish well. Welcome to the Stay the Course podcast. My name is Dr. M.J. Jackson.
My name is Doc Wooten.
I'm so excited about the podcast today. This is episode number 7.
Wow. What are we going to talk about today?
Doc, listen, I want to continue to talk about the purpose-driven man. We started it in episode 6. I want to continue to talk about the purpose-driven man today from Dr. Miles Monroe's book, Understanding the Purpose and the Power of Men. Yeah. In this book, he identifies some core issues surrounding male identity and purpose. In our last podcast, you remember, we talked about 3 key things: the crisis of masculinity, the confusion in society about what a man is, who is a man, and how society is trying to redefine what manhood is. The second point we talked about is rediscovering God's purpose for man, his original design for man. God created man with a purpose. And the third thing we talked about is moving beyond these societal roles, breaking free from these societal stereotypes. And what I want to do today, I want to continue our discussion, because that was a good discussion. Recommend everybody go listen to episode number 6. And so I want to continue our discussion today by looking at some key things that Dr. Miles Monroe said in his book about the role of a man. When God created man, he created man with purpose. And in his book, Dr. Monroe lists 5 specific purposes that God created man to fulfill. Man is to be a visionary leader. Man is to be a teacher. Man is to be a cultivator. Man is to be a provider. And man is supposed to be a protector. So what I want to do today, man, let's start with the first one. Talk to us, Doc, about what it means for a man to be a visionary leader.
Men are called to have a clear vision for their lives, their families, and their communities. And when we say that he needs to have a clear vision, he's got to first know where he's going.
That's right.
Before you can lead anyone else.
Because the scripture talks about the blind leading the blind, and both of them end up in a ditch.
There you go.
So man definitely needs a clear vision.
Yes, where he's going.
Yes. And if he ain't clear about where he's going, where he's going to take his family.
That's correct. So in the beginning, in the garden, Adam, the male, was the first to receive all the information, all the revelation and communication from God.
Okay.
Now that's in the beginning now.
The beginning. That's where we're going to start from, the beginning. You got to know where it all started.
That's right. Started from the garden. And Adam received his instructions.
Yes, sir.
You see, a man without instructions is already a lost man.
You don't know where he's going.
That's it.
He has no guidance. He has no direction. He has no purpose.
These instructions are from God.
So Adam received direct communication. This didn't come from a third party. It didn't come from somebody up the street around the corner.
No, it came from God.
Came directly from God. Okay?
Now, you see, God wanted him to be the initial recipient of his plan for mankind. See, God got a plan.
And he gave it to the man.
That's it. So I'll say this, a man that don't have a plan, all you got to do is check with God. I got a plan.
It seemed to be that simple.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a relationship with God, you would never even think to consult him.
There you go. Okay.
You think you know best. You think you know what time it is. You didn't create a universe. You didn't create a world.
There you go. And we know how that's working out. Without that relationship with God, you're a lost man.
So I agree. That should be the first starting point for man and his searching for direction and purpose. God, what you have me to do? But see, here in this case, God told him.
Yeah, yeah.
God laid it all out for him. All he had to do was follow it.
That's it. Now, he showed him the whole Garden of Eden, a vision of everything he had created, and then he gave him instructions for how to live.
Okay. So it's like a blueprint for life.
Yes. Now, the man was given the charge of being the visionary and leader, the one who would guide those who came after him in the ways of God.
So it just wasn't for him.
No.
Or others that would come after him. Wow. So if he would have been obedient to the instruction of God, all he had to do was take the blueprint for success that God gave him and passed it on to those who came after him. That's all he had to do.
That's all he had to do. You see, you just can't take what you've learned, what you experienced in life, and just close your hand up and not share with someone that may be a help to them. That's why God gave it to you. And that's the same thing with being blessed. When you get a blessing, the blessing is so that you can bless someone else.
But we're thinking a blessing for us.
Yes.
Lord, bless us for no more. Me, myself, and I.
Mm.
So everything that Adam needed, God gave it to him.
Yes. All in the instructions, all there. Everything that is necessary to lead the family is built into the man.
Let's talk about this, Doc, because everything that God gave man, he gave him in the beginning. God gave him a vision. He gave him the ability. He gave him the resources, the authority to carry out the vision.
Yes, that's right.
So today, God desires to give men a vision and the ability and the resources to carry out the vision.
That's right.
Just like he did Adam in the garden.
Mm-hmm.
So what's hindering man from being all that he can be?
I would say himself, getting in the way of himself.
Thinking he knows better than God. Because we talked about earlier, why wouldn't a man seek God? Because he thinks his wisdom is greater than God.
Why do he think that?
Well, let's go back to the garden where he said, if you eat of this fruit, you'll be just like God, knowing good from evil. So that's been man's problem from the beginning. He thinks that his knowledge is on the same level as God's. I know what's best for me. I know what's best for my family. I don't need to consult a God that I can't see. That's where we err. In order for us to be men,
yes,
we have to seek God's way, not our way. We have to seek God's guidance for our life. And then when we do that, we're connected now to his vision. Now he can create something in us that will be a benefit to our family and to others.
Now, this doesn't mean that women don't have the capacity to be visionary and leaders. You see, because God gave man a helpmate.
Mm-hmm. But he gave man the plan.
Yes.
So women can come along and help the man in the plan that God has given him. So we're not saying that women can't assist, be supportive, but God gave man the plan.
Yes. However, the male is the one to whom God first entrusted his plans and purpose for the world.
So there was something about Adam that was in Adam that God felt he can trust Adam with the plan.
Yes, it is. We got to understand, God has an order for everything that he does. There's a reason why he entrusted Adam with these plans.
And you hit on the word order. God is a God of order.
Yes.
It's because man is out of order. And what we're trying to do on the podcast here is to help man understand his role so he can take that which is in disarray and bring it back and give it order.
That's it.
But you got to do it God's way.
You see, God gave the man
The responsibility.
what God had gave to him, to give to others.
See, that's why if you go back and look at the text in Genesis 3, that's why the first thing the serpent said to the woman, did God really say?
He didn't go to Adam first. He went to the woman.
Because God gave Adam the plan.
That's it.
Adam knew exactly what God's plan was. But he went to the woman and said, did God really say? Plant that seed of doubt. That's all it took. So God gave man the responsibility of passing on what he had taught him to other people.
Now, this is still his purpose for men in the family and in society.
God's order.
He already said, your thoughts are not my thoughts. Ways are not my ways.
Matter of fact, he said, my ways are greater than your ways.
Yes, they are.
So if we know this, why aren't we adhering to it?
It sounds good. It looks good. Everything that sounds good, looks good, ain't good.
No, it's not.
Now, this is still his purpose for men in the family and in society. God still has a purpose. Even in this day, even in this disarray, everything that's going on, it seems like it's just toe up from the flow up. But God still has a purpose for men in the family and in society. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I'm going to trust in the Lord. Now, this fact is very important for men to understand, for they have been entrusted with God's purpose.
So just like God entrusted Adam with his plan initially, God is still entrusting man today.
Yes.
But if men don't seek God and step up in their leadership role, a woman will step in and lead. If you survey the climate of the society today, what you see is men not stepping up in their leadership roles. Not all men, but the majority of them. They're not stepping up in the leadership role. So by nature, a woman will step in and try to lead. And this is not God's will. This is not in God's plan. But somebody listen to this again. Oh, look at these chauvinist sexists. Don't they know that women rule the world? This was never her role. It has always been man's role because God set it up that way. However, if man doesn't step up and be the leader of his house, she will try to step in and try to accomplish something that was never, ever designated for her to do. And that's going to lead to chaos. This is what I believe now. I believe that a real woman, they aren't looking for a man that follows, but they're looking for a man who leads.
Yes.
What woman want a man following her?
They don't.
A man that leads. Although they might not say it verbally.
Down inside, that's what they want. They want a man that knows how to lead and want to lead them.
Because that's how God set it up. When God created man, Adam was in the garden. He was tilling the garden. He was working hard. And God saw that Adam needed help. And God said, it's not good for man to be alone. I will create for him a helper, one that is suitable for him, but never to take over the role that God gave Adam to do.
That's right.
So let's talk about man's responsibility and purpose. The man is to be responsible for everything that's under his authority. That's where God set it up. Let's go back to our military days. You're the NCOIC of your section. Who's responsible for everything under your authority?
You are.
Exactly. When the sergeant major come looking, who the sergeant major looking for? The E4, the E3?
No, he looking for the NCOIC.
Who's in charge? I want to know who's in charge. And that's the same thing that God did with Adam. When everything went awry in the garden, the first thing God did was come look for Adam. So as a man, if something goes wrong in the family, you have to be accountable because you are responsible. In Genesis chapter 3, verse 9, God came looking for Adam.
Yes, he did.
The Lord says, Adam, where are you? He didn't say, Adam and Eve, where are you? He called out one name and one name only, Adam, I gave you the plan. I gave you the authority. I gave you the responsibility to take care of this garden. How in the world did you allow this to happen? God came straight to the man.
He sure did.
Go ahead and read the record. He's going to take care of the woman. But initially, the first person he held accountable and responsible for the garden was the man. And then in Genesis chapter 3, verse 17 through 19, God said, because you listened to your wife, ate the fruit from the tree, which I told you, you must not eat from it. Cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil, you will eat food from it all the days of your life. That was the consequence of his failure.
Yes.
Garden. Now, what God had planned for Adam to be sweatless, a sweatless harvest, because of their disobedience, now he's going to have to toil the ground in order to get food to eat. Listen what the Lord said. Because you listen to your wife. Now, listen, because somebody going to accuse us now. We got to set the record straight. Ain't nobody saying that's supposed to listen to your wife. If she's a good wife, she ain't going to tell you nothing wrong.
No, she's not.
She's going to tell you something that's going to better you, that's going to enhance the relationship. But what God is saying here, listen, you listen to her voice instead of my voice. Listen, somebody going to tear us up, bro. But this is what it's saying. Listen, I don't care what your wife is saying. I don't care what she whispering in your ear. You better make sure that what you're doing lines up with God's ways and God's will.
You gonna be in trouble.
Yes, sir. So you can't listen to every woman and what they say, because every woman ain't got your best interest. But God said, because you listen to the woman, then listen to my voice. That tells me that as a man, as a visionary leader, you have to listen to the voice of God. Listen, baby, I know you don't agree with what I'm saying, but you got to listen to me. I have a vision for us. I have a plan for us. Follow me. So many men, baby, what you think we should do? You want to do this? You want to do that? Listen, there's nothing wrong with adding the woman into the discussion. But who got the final say?
The man has the final say after consulting with God.
That's problematic in this day and age, bro.
I know.
God gave man a purpose. He gave him a vision, and he's going to hold the man responsible and accountable.
Yes, he is.
Because one of the things we got to know and understand that as a visionary leader, man didn't appoint himself.
No,
God
he did not.
chose the man and appointed him as a visionary leader.
For God's plan.
Man is the one by whom I'm going to reveal my plan for his family, for the world, for society. It's going to come through the man. God's purposes, rather than societal expectations, should determine the man's position in the family as the leader. Like we talked about on podcast number 6, right now, somebody's sitting up with a notebook trying to redefine the roles of a man. And as men, we got to stand 10 toes down, and we have to be determined and purposeful that we're going to be the man that God designs us to be. Now, I said something earlier. Let me clarify what I said. Again, this is not man being dominant. It's God's order. And this is what you'll hear today, bro. You'll hear people say that man and women are co-equals or they're equal partners. In theory, they might have a point, but in the eyes of God, that's not how it is. The Bible does not teach this. Man is the leader of the household. With that title leader also comes responsibility and accountability. So if you're a man and your family toe up, God's going to deal with you.
That's it.
If your house is out of order, God is going to deal with you.
That's it.
To get it back in order, the woman is just supposed to support him and help him to carry out God's purposes for the family, if she too is connected with God. That's why the Bible talks over and over again, man, about not being unequally yoked, because it ain't gonna work, bro. All you're gonna do is have fights, argument, because you want to go one way and she want to go another way. You the leader of the household and she want to be the boss.
That's a conflict right there.
How can you have two people in charge? Man is the head of the family, and man was not elected the head of the family. He was assigned by God.
Okay.
We got to understand that men are responsible for their families. whether they like it or not. Now, listen, no family is perfect, and we're not talking about the Hulkables. We got different dynamics in families today. But still, regardless of what the dynamic of the family is, still the man is the head of it.
That's correct.
You know, you have single mothers trying to raise their children. And if there's a man involved, and yes, there was a man involved, else the children wouldn't be there, that man still has a responsibility and accountability. Marriage certificate don't have anything to do with that. Some brothers think, I don't live with my family, so, what responsibility do I have to come in and try to tell the woman what to do? Is that not your child? Are you not still that child's father, where you have a responsibility in that situation?
That's right.
Now, he going to catch it because the woman is going to clap back and try to deny that man his parental rights. But instead of running from his responsibility and ask God to give you the wisdom on how to navigate this thing, because I want to be in my child's life. I want to be a role model to her. But still, even in that situation, I believe God can still make a way. So men are responsible for their families, whether they like it or not, whether or not they want to be or not. Because being a man, being a leader, being a visionary is not just a role. It's your God-given purpose.
That's it.
Men are to provide leadership and guidance, not through domination, but through their service, their action, their integrity. That's why we talked so much in previous podcasts about these character building blocks.
Yes.
And we were talking about the role of a man is a man of character. Can I depend on you? Does your word mean anything? You and I said we're going to have a podcast tonight. What do we do?
Podcast. Yes.
What would it look like if we supposed to be on the podcast and 30 minutes done passed? I got to be calling MJ. Call me. Oh, man, I got caught up, man. No, man, I can't trust you. Your word don't mean nothing to me now.
Yeah.
You're not doing what you said you're going to do. You're not where you're supposed to be. Exactly what happened in the garden. Adam was so busy working that he didn't even realize his wife was over there talking to something instead of talking to him. It's easy for men to be distracted, but we got to stay on our posts. Just like in the military, bro. We got to stay on our posts.
Stay alert.
And we got to learn how to be leaders of a home. God has already laid it out. He got the blueprint. I didn't know that the Bible contains such wisdom. Apostle Paul said, when I was a child, I thought like a child.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to what he said now. But when I became a man, listen, I became a man. So nobody is born with all of these traits of manhood. They have to be learned. He says, when I became a man, then what did he do? I had to put them childish things.
Put them childish away.
To become more accountable and responsible for my actions now. I can't blame my mama. Can't blame my daddy. I can't blame how I was raised. Men have to learn how to become men. Iron trying to sharpen iron of those who desire to learn how to be leaders of their home. I ain't talking about deadbeats trying to run from their responsibilities. No. But men who understand and embrace their role, but they just need some guidance. They need some mentoring in this area.
And I need men to understand, no, this ain't easy, but it's necessary. It's required. And that is part of manhood. Doing what is required and what is necessary.
Whether you like it or not.
There you go.
That's manhood 101.
101.
So a man, if he sees something that got to be done in his family, he steps up to make sure it happens. And if he doesn't have a good relationship with the mother, no problem. You still step up in order to take care of what has to be taken care of.
Necessary and required.
Doc, you had another good one, brother.
Sir.
And I believe that we're helping some men, man. I really do believe that. But like you said, it's not easy, but it's necessary. It's necessary, man. Dr. Miles Monroe listed 5 specific things. We talked today about the visionary leader. Next time we get together, we're going to talk about man as the teacher. Like you said, man's responsibility is to pass on what he learned to others.
That's it.
This is MJ.
And this is Doc.
Don't quit.
Never give up.
Finish well.
And finish well.
Be blessed, everybody.
Be blessed.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast. Until our next time together, be blessed.